can't be legal. I'm never leaving home again.
What if I told you that right now, you are being watched? We'd always like to think that if someone was looking at us or listening to us, we'd know about it. But over the last week, I've come to a pretty terrifying realization. I've actually got 5 household items in front of me right now. One of them is a spy camera, and I'm going to tell you which one. I'm going to show you the craziness of what is happening, why it is happening, and the magic tools you need to fix it. So it all started with this video. It was about a girl who broke up with her boyfriend, but then a few months later in a conversation with him, realized that he was able to tell her exactly when one of her friends had come to her house. How could he have known that? So she called over an expert, and sure enough, within her shoe cabinet, he'd hidden a 360-degree camera to keep an eye on her.
And it got me thinking, is this a thing? Have I been to places which have already had spy cameras installed? Do people have recordings of me that I've got no idea about?
I mean, joke's on them really, but turns out, very possibly. A quick Google search finds hundreds of cases of people finding hidden recording devices in hotels, public bathrooms, changing rooms, the list goes on. And those are just the ones people have found. A mini documentary by the BBC showed how you can walk into a motel room, very easily have no clue that anything was up, when actually you'd be being recorded by 30 cameras simultaneously from every angle. 30 cameras. What? Everything from shower heads to shampoo bottles can have cameras inside of them. And the really scary part of it is that these cameras are often not recording footage and saving it locally, they are live streaming it. Which means that even if you did discover that you were being filmed, it's too late. That footage will already be in someone else's hands. That's terrifying. That's such an invasion of privacy. So how hard is it to get hold of this kind of surveillance gear?
You go onto a website and you click buy.
Within 5 seconds of searching, I found a site called Spy Equipment UK. Perfectly legal, they accept payments via PayPal, and through them, you can get all of that stuff. A working mains wall socket, which is also hiding an audio recorder behind it. You can get a clock, which has a tiny camera hidden in the number 12, even a motion-activated table lamp that starts recording as soon as someone's nearby. They're angling themselves as made for personal protection, but let's be honest, people are going to use this to spy on other people. It's literally in the name of the website. So, I had to find out how good they are. Yeah, I spent £1,200 here, so that you don't have to. But if you are enjoying this video, then a sub to the channel would be sneaky. And sure enough, the next day, this package showed up at my door. I'll get to the rest of the stuff in a second, but I wanted to show you this, also from the same site, a keystroke logger. This tiny thing right here, it goes in between your computer keyboard and your computer, and it intercepts and stores 8,000 pages worth of typed text, usernames, passwords, bank details, everything. The FBI actually had to issue a warning to people in the United States to be wary of using public computers in case there was one of these installed.
Let me show you. This is a keyboard, that's a computer. So I'm literally going to plug the keylogger into the USB of the keyboard, and that's going to go around the back of here. And let's be honest, if you didn't know what you were looking for, how could you possibly tell? But if I now type in my super secretive password details, then as soon as the person who set up that keylogger comes back, they can hold the keys K, B, and S, and a secret drive appears. But if we then go into this drive, there is a log file. And look right here, it's got my username, and it's got my password.
And bear in mind, this is not the only type of keylogger. Now that we've got wireless keyboards, you can even get completely wireless keyloggers. They don't need to be connected to your computer. They might just look like a phone charger sitting nearby, but they can pick up the radio signals from each key you press on a wireless keyboard. But do you want to know the really crazy part of this? Do you want to know which one of these devices has been recording this entire time? All of them. Inside that box was everything from an audio recorder that looks like car keys to a surveillance voice-activated Winnie the Pooh bear. Combine that with my GeoCleanse koala, I'm going to be unstoppable. We got both a Bluetooth speaker and an air freshener that are actually both cameras. Even a pair of glasses that can discreetly record 1080p video apparently. This car key has been recording, well, not just my voice, but also anyone's voice in a 7-meter radius. And when you look at this thing, even up close, you can't see anything. Like, let's see if you can find a hidden button on this key. You can't. It's hidden behind that sticker and it's completely flush with the body. Can you see the USB port here? It's not obvious. Look, you can have a look at the top, the front, the bottom, the back. Where is it? Well, right there. I've been recording backup audio with Winnie the Pooh, which sounds something like this. From every angle, it's just a soft, cuddly bear. It even still has the Disney logo on it. The only way to find out that you were being recorded by it would be to turn it over, to lift the jumper up. with consent, and then to tear inside the back of it, go all the way inside, rummage around for a bit, until you found that. But then you've got the air freshener, which can not just hear you, but also see you. And even if you took this thing apart, it's not immediately obvious what's going on here. It still works as an air freshener. There are no record buttons or anything. It'll either use motion as a trigger, or if you want to do it manually, you have to bring a magnet close to it to trigger the mechanism. And while that's doing all the motion detection, I've got this harmless Bluetooth speaker here, which would actually be sat there getting a close-up of your face.
And this is actually a live stream camera, so you can be sitting in a completely different room and still be seeing what this camera's seeing.
Plus, it's easy to forget that as well as all the spy shenanigans, this is also a working Bluetooth speaker. There's a switch here, which goes off, Bluetooth mode, and then V for video mode. But of course, even if someone saw that, they're not going to have any idea what V means. They're just going to assume it's part of the speaker functionality. And for the same reason, you don't need to hide the USB port, because you need one of those on a speaker anyways. And if all that wasn't enough, the glasses are recording you right now from a first-person perspective. You want to know where the SD card is on this thing? Right there. Look at all these products. Can you see a single microphone or camera? For Winnie the Pooh, the mic is actually stitched into the neck. You can't tell. For the speaker, there you go, right there in the middle. For the glasses, it's hiding in plain sight. The camera is right in the middle there. But because it's tinted to be the same color as the frame, you can barely see it. In a best case scenario, it looks just like a bit of dirt on the front. And this air freshener right here, oh goodness, look here. You see that camera right there? That's like a pinhole camera. And for the car keys, that dot right there is the microphone. But of course, to an uninitiated consumer, that dot could be anything. Don't forget that even though I definitely paid too much for this stuff, this is just consumer grade. If I went and bought professional grade equipment, you can get cameras and microphones the size of a needlepoint. And as the technology improves, they're only going to get more connected and smaller. Cameras already exist that are the size of a grain of sand. How is anyone going to possibly spot one of those? So, you might be wondering at this point, why? Well, apart from spouses who are trying to make sure you're not cheating on them, and overly attached exes who install cameras in your smoke detector, there is an entire economy for spy footage of people. Couples being intimate, people going to the bathroom. A single clip of spy cam footage can sell for up to $145, depending on the length and quality. For many people, this is much more than just perversion. This is a business. But given that it is a criminal business, it's just shocking how easily accessible these gadgets are. It's so accessible that right now South Korea is having what is being described as an epidemic of spy footage. As for keyloggers, well, your accounts are worth something to you, right? So the reason people use these is so that they can steal your login details and then blackmail you into giving them money to get your accounts back. Or just using your online banking to send themselves a fat check. So, here's the crux of it. Here's how you tell if you're being recorded. The prime suspects, places to do a little double check, are public bathrooms. There's been quite a lot of cases of people finding just out-of-place items, like a phone charger, and then realizing that those are actually cameras. Cheap hotels, but even more so would be motels and Airbnbs, because they're just less regulated and more likely to be privately owned. And specifically, what I've read online is that pay particular attention with adjoining rooms, because there have been multiple cases of people pushing endoscope cameras underneath the door in between.
So if you do err on the side of caution, then the first recommended test is to close all curtains, to turn off all lights, and then to see if you see any blinking LEDs anywhere. But that would only catch someone using very basic gear. So step 2 would be to use a phone's flashlight to scan across the room, with the idea being that any cameras should have an abnormal or reflective surface that you should be able to distinguish from the rest of the body.
But if you did want to be really, really sure, then there are tools you can use. So this right here is a bug finder. It's nothing fancy, it's a pretty low-level piece of equipment. You set the sensitivity to calibrate to the amount of radio waves in the room around you, and then as you approach a source, you will find that the graph on front spikes.
So you'll notice in this room, for example, the closer we get to that bedside table, the higher the radio wave levels seem to be peaking. And that's because that's a spy camera. But also, you can use your phone. A lot of these spy cameras are rigged with infrared, which is what allows them to see in the dark when there's no light. But the interesting thing about infrared is that it also shows up clear as day on your phone's camera.
do consider sharing this with someone who might find it useful. And if you want to see my last video about which tech company has the worst customer service, that's up here. Or for one of the most horrific tech scams in existence, that's up here. My name is Aaron, this is Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'll catch you in the next one.